Välja, välja. Saad välja või?
We were really starting to worry, and then of course we start to look on the maps and things like that, and we see that we'd sort of lost the tracking around where the lake area was. So then you really start to fear the worst, because I mean, as I said, no communication whatsoever.
And I get a text from Malcolm Wilson, thinking, and I thought, right, great, Malcolm knows exactly what's going on. He's telling me now what's happened to Oit. And his text message read, Bex, we have absolutely no information. Can you tell us what's going on with Oit Tänak? And I just run cold. And the hairs started to stand up on the back of my neck, because I knew this was a situation now. This wasn't a regular off the road. This was something very, very serious indeed. And then when we found out that they were okay, and when we knew what had happened, it was jaw-dropping in terms of a story.
Somewhere earlier in the stage, Oit had obviously hit a rock or something, bent part on the suspension, then when he braked to turn into the thing, that part of the suspension broke. So it's the same situation. It wasn't as though he made a mistake at that point where he went into the lake, that he had a mechanical part break. So when you see the footage and everything, you see what happened. I mean, to be honest, it made it even worse to think that, okay, they'd survived, but the way that they managed to get out of the car and then you see the car just disappear was an incredible feeling.
I think for me what was even more surprising was then interviewing them when they got back to service. I said to them, what happens now? Do you get on a flight, you go home, forget all about this? And Oit just said in Oit Tänak fashion, direct and deadpan, no, we get the car out of the water and we start again. Which I started laughing, because I honestly thought he was joking. But how on earth can they get the car out of a lake and then rally again? And he said, no, I'm completely serious. We go again. We get back in the car, we go again. And that's exactly what they did.
For sure, it's a day which has some history and always, let's say, some pictures in some books. So it's something that has happened, and for sure it was quite on the limit. So probably that makes it a bit special. The most important that moment was from Malcolm's side to get me back into the car, to not leave Mexico with just a bad emotion, and it would have been just more difficult to get into the car next time.
Well, I'll be honest, I didn't have as much experience back in those days of what was possible and what wasn't possible, and as soon as we'd kind of dealt with the situation and got everything back under control and got the car back, the assumption was we'd put the car in the air freight and send it home. But Malcolm was pretty strict from the start that his thought was that we were going to fix it and have a go to carry on, which I think none of us at the time even considered that was a possibility. But if the boss tells you that's what we're doing, then that's what we'll try. A lot of the things you'll have seen on the television is the mechanics that weren't able to do that because there was already enough people working on the engine and electronics. We're then taking the water out of the car, getting the seats out, everything like that to try and dry the interior. I mean, as soon as the electronics and engine were under control, the rest of the time was spent basically drying everything out as much as we can, because we knew it would be down to electronics would be the key. An engine is a mechanical component. If you get the water out and there's nothing damaged, there's no reason why it shouldn't start again. And I think because it was such a different and special moment, I don't think there was one member of the team that disappeared at that point. Sometimes you get, by the time people's cars are finished and gone back to park for maybe people will go back to the hotel, but when that was happening, I don't think there was one member of the team that wasn't there, because they all wanted to see what was going on, how they could help, what we could do. And some of us were probably getting in the way more than we were helping, but I think it was the team spirit of trying to get things going again.
The energy during that service was incredible from all the mechanics, but from the mechanics from other teams who came to show their support. They were sitting outside the service area from Citroën, from Volkswagen. They were just sat there watching trying to lend their support to the team as they motored on and kept going through the 3 hours. And then when it came to the crux time, when they were ready to see if the engine would fire up, that's when it fell completely silent at eSports. And you know, the first attempt to fire the car, and it juddered, nothing. Second attempt, nothing. And I think it was about attempt 4 or 5, and the engine came to life. And the reaction was incredible, the cheers, just, I think the incredible sense of satisfaction that this, what seemed like an incredible job, a ridiculous job to get the car ready to go, it was actually going to work.
As stupid as it sounded and crazy as it sounded at the time, I think when we all reflected on it, it was something that was possible, and it would just be that most people would say no. But Malcolm said, yes, let's try it. And we still talk about that memory to this day.
For me, that really defines what rallying is. It's true team spirit, camaraderie, everyone pulling together in what's a very difficult circumstance to make a truly incredible rally story.
I think the boys had a well-earned beer after that evening, but it was, again, like I say, a really good story that will forever live in WRC history.
As we all know, Oit got back into the car and was competing again before the weekend was over. 4 years later, he'd be crowned world champion while driving for Toyota Gazoo Racing. The first people to congratulate him, the man who got him back into the car in Mexico in 2015. The famous car from that day also continued competing, indeed driven to 4th by Tänak just a few weeks later at Rally Argentina. It would finally be retired with a record 39 WRC starts to its name. However, there was one thing from that day which wouldn't be seen again.
We retired it. I do remember now, it was a little yellow duck that it was Oit's lucky charm, according to him. So we retired it afterwards, and then we even got some more, I think, on another rally. And when it was one of the rallies where it was so wet, and we put these 3 little ducks just to remind Oit of what they were like in the service park when he came into service.
Watch WRC Plus on all devices, WRC Plus All Live.